What's up, everybody? Couchmelz here, coming at you with a brand new Overwatch video. And in this video, we're going to be breaking down Sojourn's full reveal, her kit, talking about the character. We have some gameplay footage. There's a lot we got to break down. So we're going to do just that, but the Game Leap website's the best place to absolutely dominate. If you want to climb incredibly quickly in Overwatch 2, dominate, get yourself set up to succeed, you got to go check out our in-depth guides. And of course, we'll be completely remaking the website from the ground up with Overwatch 2. So you want all the tips, tricks, and guides, do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below. Now, Sojourn is, of course, the newest DPS addition to Overwatch. She's been teased for quite some time, but we finally get to see her in action. We finally get to know her abilities, and she's looking really freaking sick, really cool. So we're going to break them down, talk about her place in Overwatch 2. Now, first off, we got to talk about her railgun. The primary fire is going to be a rapid-firing projectile that generate energy on impact. The secondary fire is going to be a high-impact shot that consumes stored energy. So the primary fire of this railgun, while it is a projectile, the projectile speed is crazy fast. It's almost to the point where it's not going to feel like a projectile, and it's going to feel something more like Hanzo's storm arrows. Incredibly quick, that it's going to fire incredibly fast, and it's going to kind of feel maybe like a mixture of Hanzo's storm arrow and Soldier 76's primary fire, something like that. Now, as you deal damage with that, you're going to be able to build up this energy that is going to allow you to use that secondary fire, which is going to be a freaking high impact shot. Now, this shot is going to be a burst of damage that can be used to burst down a target that you've already whittled down with your primary fire. And from the looks of it, it looks like an actual beam. So perhaps this is something that can even go through shields. I'm not entirely sure on that regard, but it would be cool to actually be able to do a certain amount of damage, even if it's something like 50 damage through a shield. You could finish off a target that is running away by saving the secondary fire and using it appropriately. It is important to understand that you are not going to just be able to use it only, right? You have to use that primary fire to build it up, but I think it's a pretty interesting dynamic having the secondary fire as a strong thing that is being built off your effectiveness from your primary fire, which means also, if you're popping off with your primary fire, you're going to have a lot more secondary fires, and it's kind of a momentum character in that regard. Now for the next ability, we actually have to talk about Power Slide. It's a ground slide that can cancel into a high jump. So not only can you slide and just slide around the map, you're fucking, I don't even know, Apex Legending up in this bitch, but you can also slide and jump very high, which gives you additional mobility. I think that's actually really cool. I'm not entirely sure how many slides you get, what is the speed at which you slide, and how high you can jump. All those things are incredibly important to know how good this character will be at, for instance, trying to lurk or play a flank. Can you jump up and contest a sniper on the high ground? Can you slide around a corner and shoot an enemy? How is this going to be applicable in gameplay? It's going to be very, very interesting to see, but I do think that any form of mobility on a character is definitely welcome, especially a character that has not only a combination of projectile elements, but hit scan elements as well. It looks like this character is like trying to yoink all those Apex players. I don't even know. The next thing that we need to talk about is the Disruptor Shot. So this is going to launch an energy shot that slows down and deals damage to enemies within it. This is shown in the gameplay trailer, and this looks very, very interesting. It's a way to stop enemies in their tracks, potentially focus damage onto them, and I do think that this is going to be comboed incredibly well with not only the secondary fire of the railgun, but also the ultimate that we'll talk about in a second. In addition, being able to slow enemies and deal damage to them is going to allow you to potentially stop stalls and give you more chances to actually deal damage and potentially get picks. It's both a form of AoE, an area denial, and it's going to deal damage, forcing enemies away, but it also slows enemies down, which can allow you to deal more damage to you. I think there's going to be a lot of ways you can outplay enemies. Someone jumps on you, like a monkey for instance. Not only can you slow him and deal damage to the area that he lands on, but then you could power slide away, jump up, take a different angle, shoot at him and railgun him and potentially do a lot of damage and force him to kite away or maybe even kill him altogether. There's a lot of potential with the Disruptor Shot, and I really do think it makes a lot of sense into her kit overall. Now, let's move on to her ultimate, which I think is incredibly interesting and powerful, the Overclock. It's a railgun energy auto charge for a short duration, and then charge shots pierce enemies. Now this thing looks like it does a crazy amount of damage and it kills incredibly fast. We're gonna have to see exactly how much damage it does, but ultimately this kind of reminds me of something like a Spartan laser from Halo or some of the classic railgun weapons from Quakes of old. Now, I'm not going to be incredibly excited to be like across the map thinking I'm safe only to get completely rolled and smoked by this ability, but at the end of the day, it is an ultimate and it's going to be a skill shot, so it's not going to be the easiest thing to use, of course, and I think it's going to scale well with skill. Now, all in all, I do think that Sojourn is actually a really cool character. I don't think that she inherently looks overpowered as she is in face value. It's going to really depend on a lot of her damage metrics, of course, but there's no ability that just seems outside of the realm of what is acceptable in Overwatch, right? There's no crazy CC. I know CC has been primarily removed from the damage dealing role. There is also no crazy mobility. She does have good mobility, but she isn't like, I don't know, teleporting behind enemies or flying in the sky. Yeah, there's no characters that do those things. And while this character doesn't push the envelope and do anything crazy, exciting, and interesting, I think it plays upon a lot of the successful elements of Overwatch in the first place. And I do think it's gonna be a smash hit and a fairly fun character to play. I know I'm excited, but I gotta just pass the question off to you. What do you feel about this? How do you feel about Sojourn? And are you going to play her or main her? You gotta let me know down below. And the Game Leap website's the best place to quickly climb and dominate. We're gonna be doing an in-depth Sojourn guide entire section for this character. So if you want tons of advanced guides on her or any other character in Overwatch 2, do yourself a favor and go check it out right now down below.